trial was supposed to start in the defamation claims brought by Dominion Voting Systems, claiming that Fox defamed it when it allowed so many of its hosts as well as commentators to claim that Dominion Voting had helped in some way in terms of defrauding voters and stealing the 2020 presidential election. Well, Fox News' trial was supposed to kick off today, but it did not because a judge opted to delay it for a day. But that doesn't mean that the $1.6 billion defamation claim is gonna go anywhere. Yeah, that's right. And also, Fox isn't in a good position. They're trying to wiggle themselves out of some legal trouble because Judge Eric Davis was none too pleased with a number of the things I guess we can say Trump's little Fox News folks are doing. Check this out from ABC News with some updates. So the Wall Street Journal, a publication owned by Fox chairman Rupert Murdoch, reported Sunday night that Fox had made a late push to settle the dispute out of court, according to people familiar with the decision. Jury selection in the case began on Thursday and was scheduled to continue on Monday, with opening arguments scheduled for Monday afternoon. Under the new schedule, jury selection is expected to resume on Tuesday morning. And in case you do kind of plan to follow this, it should be pretty interesting because we do not necessarily know whether Fox is going to try to sell this, but we do know that we don't want Dominion Voting to settle at all. No, we don't, because this is an important First Amendment case. Of course, also it's one in which we can actually hold Fox News accountable. Well, of course, there is no evidence really to support Fox News's theories that they were pushing in terms of Dominion Voting, helping Joe Biden steal the 2020 presidential election. And that was really also according to Fox and Trump campaign staffers, because check out this audio that was originally obtained by MSNBC.
Are any of the machines, I know it was on War Room the other day with Steve Bannon, have any of the machines been looked at? He had said that one was looked at in Georgia.
I'd have to check on that in terms of Georgia. I know during the audit they did check on those machines. If we can just go off the record for 1 sec here.
Yeah, of course. I don't want us to say it if it's not. That's why we're checking.
I think they have looked at the machines. When the Secretary of State did its audit, there was a lot, I think a fair bit of looking at the machines. The audit came in pretty darn close to what the machine count was with the receipts. So, I don't know the outcome of those, but our understanding, again, this is from the Secretary of State's office, was that there weren't any physical issues with machines on those inspections.
Yeah, so Fox News knew well into it that there was no legitimate basis for claiming that Dominion Voting rigged the election in any way or that its machines were not functioning. So that $1.6 billion claim seems pretty damn legit, and all the evidence is definitely leaning toward Fox's guilt. I don't know how they're gonna get out of it. But of course, Rudy Giuliani, Trump's favorite attorney, seems to think he has all the answers.
We ask you for as much evidence as you can tell us about these lawsuits. Whatever you can tell us in terms of evidence would be really helpful. Okay, great.
I can tell you exactly what we have.
Perfect. And what about this software, this Dominion software?
That's a little harder.
Troubling
to tell you right. It's being analyzed right now. I mean, there are a couple of races that have been reversed because the Democrat was triple counted, two already in Michigan. Now, whether that applies for the whole state or not, I can't tell you yet.
This Dominion software, does Nancy Pelosi have an interest in it?
I've read that. I can't prove that.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Fox News tries to claim that they were misled by these comments that Rudy Giuliani made as a Trump representative. But I think it'll come down to journalistic standards and the fact that you're not necessarily supposed to go on some kind of lead where somebody says, well, I can't prove it, I'm just speculating. Like, get out of here with that. If so, you're supposed to know that the person is completely speculative. Anyway, we know Fox News hasn't necessarily been the best when it comes to journalism. And apparently it seems that they haven't been the best as it comes to actually telling the truth. Yeah, and the judge called him out on it. So for months, Fox had been the mouthpiece for Trump and his election deniers, and it really started with the top in terms of Rupert Murdoch. Check this from Vox. Fox is also facing blowback for trying to minimize the role of Rupert Murdoch, who chairs Fox News' parent company. Earlier this month, the company's lawyers admitted that Murdoch is also an officer at Fox News, despite the fact that they previously insisted he had no official title at the company. Dominion argues that it was consequently deprived of an opportunity to seek more documents related to Murdoch as part of the discovery in the case. And that is absolutely true in terms of Dominion being at a loss here. And the court recognized that and issued sanctions against Fox News last week. And also, as we know yesterday, well, Fox News's attorneys apologized to the court, saying, I'm incredibly sorry. And that we will be more forthright moving forward, which is interesting since it's literally the eve of trial. And of course, there are so many other issues for Fox. The troubles really don't stop with Dominion voting. Yeah, peep this headline from The Guardian. Fox News is bracing for more turbulence as second defamation lawsuit advances. Yeah, that's right. Because New York court has greenlit the $2.7 billion suit against the news channel that was filed by another election company, Smartmatic, over the 2020 presidential election lies. We also know that last weekend, or the weekend before last, well, Fox News settled with another gentleman who was wrapped up in those lies that had been told. And I believe that gentleman was seeking about $250 million. So Fox News is in a very precarious position. Also, they have been sued by their shareholders too for orchestrating all these lies with regard to the election and pretty much basically mishandling the funds there, because now they're gonna have to deal with all these lawsuits. It's not a good look, but what, Rupert Murdoch is 92, 1 foot in the grave, what does he care? He's gonna have a good time either way. Jackson, how do you think this is gonna shake out?
Yeah, I don't think he's personally too worried about it. He's gonna pass the stress on to his descendants. But I agree. I think that this is going to be a very difficult legal situation for Fox News to wriggle their way out of, because how can they? I mean, they just flat out lied. They didn't have any evidence. They just decided to go with the narrative because it's what the base wanted to hear. And this is a really good example of why the Republican Party has such a hard time turning on Donald Trump, because in order to do that, they have to do a complete 180 on everything that they've been doing since he was in office in terms of what they have said has happened. They're gonna have to turn around and say, actually, Trump lost. They're gonna have to turn around and say, actually, Trump did this, Trump did that. Actually, it is true. He does con people. He didn't pay anybody. They're gonna have to really do that in order to stick it to him, which would in turn condemn themselves. But yeah, I mean, how can they, what reason is there really for Fox News to get out of such a thing like this? Favors for who? Like, who is it really gonna benefit? So yeah, I think that they're gonna have to pay up 100%.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really don't know what they thought they were gonna get out of this. Yeah, sure, having another Republican in the White House could be fun, but the reality is if you have a Democrat, you still muster up controversy. That's how they end up getting their base so big to begin with, all the attacks on Obama. So it's kind of like, why would you risk all of your money and your income to tell these lies? Now you're gonna face suit after suit, and I get it that they're a multi-billion-dollar outlet. At the same time, this could sink you. It could. It would take years, but it could ultimately sink you, especially because malice is the standard here. And so you're gonna end up with juries in New York as well as Delaware, which aren't really, that Republican friendly, deciding how much you should have to pay as a punishment for the lies that you told. Like that, why put yourself in that position? But again, as I said, Rupert Murdoch, I believe he's about 92. He don't care. He's not gonna be alive when all this ends and settles. So, any last thoughts, Jackson?
Again, I think that what's been really interesting about all this is, despite all the chaos, really not much is going on legislatively in terms of who's taking what party, in terms of who's stepping into what leadership. But in terms of this story, yeah, I don't really see why they did this, other than being hyper focused on short-term gains, short-term ratings and stuff like that. There's no other good reason for them to have ran with this lie, because as you pointed out, there's constant elections, there's midterms all the time, there's state and local elections, there's new presidential elections. So ultimately, this was flat out stupid. It just was a very, very stupid path to take. And even though they are a multi-billion-dollar corporation, at the end of the day, corporations are loaded with debt. They, you know what I'm saying? And $1 billion is $1 billion, and they probably ain't got it liquid, so they're gonna have to make payments on that, and that's gonna mean that it's not a good situation to be in whatsoever. But it's the bed they made for them, so we should just all grab the popcorn and enjoy the show.
And I kind of wonder if they're gonna pull like a Johnson & Johnson and try to do the bankruptcy bid and then shell into another company. I don't know, but I know it's shady, and I really hope that their comeuppance come up and slap them right in the damn face.